Played. Okay, there we go. I was like, music played, music stopped, and I was like, ah, I can't hear anything. But good morning, everyone, and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Sorry about that technical difficulty in the beginning. And like I told you guys, like, look, it's just me. It's me in the studio, and yeah, sometimes things happen, and I just have to, as they say, roll with the punches. So let's get started with our kids corner for this morning.
Healthy 6-year-old meets genuine hunger for the first time. Today, Sebastian Whitmore learns that real wealth comes from sharing, not hoarding his gourmet lunch. One morning at Whitmore Academy, Sebastian opened his lunchbox to discover his chef had prepared his favorite, imported Italian sandwiches, premium fruits, and handmade cookies wrapped in gold foil. Suddenly, Sebastian noticed Leo, a new classmate, quietly watching from a distance. Leo sat alone with just water and crackers, staring hungrily at the other children's meals in the crowded city school cafeteria. Sebastian had never seen someone truly hungry before. His heart melted as he watched Leo pretend to eat his imaginary lunch. That's when Sebastian realized some children didn't have what he took for granted every day. Without hesitation, Sebastian walked over to Leo and said, "Would you like to share my lunch?" Leo's eyes lit up with amazement. Sebastian split his gourmet meal, giving half to his new friend with genuine warmth. As they ate together, Sebastian and Leo became best friends instantly. Leo shared stories about his modest home while Sebastian listened, finally understanding that happiness multiplies when shared with others. That day, Sebastian learned true wealth isn't about money or expensive lunch, it's about kindness and generosity. Real riches come from sharing what we have with those who need it most.
Yeah. And so, that's just the theme, y'all. Remembering that generosity is shared, right? And when we share it with others, it gives back to us. It's kind of weird. It's like giving it away, you feel more enriched as opposed to just hoarding it all to yourself, you know. And in that, later on, some of the topics that we'll be discussing today on Tell It All Tuesday, you know, with right now where we are within the United States, people have actually taken that generosity for granted. And that's the sad part because you would think we would be better off as a country, right? Where people would have more respect for the generosity. And I'm not saying that there aren't those out there that don't, but the perception, right? And the way some of the leaders that we do have, especially within our Congress, have taken the generosity of the American people for granted. So, with that, we're going to get into honoring God with our body, our daily reading here. So, God, please help to guard my mind and thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect my ears and help me listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please protect my mouth and help me to speak life. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please protect my hands and help me serve you generously. God, help me to do good to everyone and especially to those who belong to the family in the faith. God, please protect my reproductive organs and help me to honor you with my body. God, help me to honor you with my body. God, please protect my feet and help me to walk in your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And that is something that I definitely read every day. And that's my commitment because what I want us to always be in the mindset of is how to honor God with our body. We never think about honoring God, you know, and I know some people do, some people don't, but it's really just setting up the mind frame, right? Setting up your mind for the day because there's a lot of topics that I talk about on this show. And I know some people are probably like, wow, like, okay. Well, by setting up the mindset, right? To honor you, God, with my eyes, with my mind, with my mouth, with everything I do. That's how this, in my opinion, that's how this show goes in the right direction. So we do have some comments, and it's from Dr. C. She says, "Greetings, founder. Greetings to you too, Dr. C. Thank you so much for joining this morning." And now we're going to get into something I meant to cover yesterday, which was Ilhan Omar's marriage certificates. I forgot to bring them up. Sorry about that. And the reason why I wanted to bring them up mainly is because nobody talks about her first marriage. Everybody just assumes that she just first married her brother and there was nobody else. Well, no, she had what they call a quote unquote spiritual marriage. Now, here's the license that she actually applied for, and this was in September 30th, 2002. And this person's name is Ahmed Al Sabalian Adine. Okay. And here you can see Ilan Omar there. I'm not sure who did the printing for this because, oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, so let me make it a little bit bigger. So yes. So this is the father of her children. Okay. That's what I want everybody to know. This is the father of her children. This is her. Okay. So this is the spiritual marriage because they did not file it to actually be formally married. Now, this is the person that they're saying is her brother, allegedly, Ahmed Nur Saeed Elmi. Okay. And this was the marriage in 2009. Okay. So I just want to let you know, yes, these documents are real. Okay. And this is also interesting too, because here's his name. And then I guess she forgot how to, I guess she did the name wrong over here. I was like, I don't know. Maybe there was just a mix up in the paperwork and he thought he was supposed to sign here. She thought she was supposed to sign there. However that went. However that went. But interesting, right? Hmm. Because she puts here Elmi's name and she put Omar Elmi as opposed to um, this middle name in Omar. I'm like, was that a was that a Freudian slip? You know, because people are saying that might be your brother, and the way things work within the Somali community and with certain African communities, they take surnames, right, which are family names. So it's weird because initially it was right. As you can see here, Ilan, the middle name Omar. Then they wrote in Omar Elmi to take this person's last name. Why would you do that? Because you don't need to do that on marriage licenses. Because it says complete names of parties after marriage. So she wrote it this way, then wrote it, should it be Omar Elmi and take this last name? And then it was, I guess, decided later on, no, we're just going to leave it this way as Omar. She doesn't have the last name of either of her husbands. I just want people to realize that. Okay. His last name is not Omar. It's the Dean. Okay. Her second husband, his last name was Elmi. Her name has stayed Omar. No, no pressure. I'm just saying this is what we're doing here. And it's confusing to everyone because They're like, "Well, is it her brother? Is it not?" And I guess, allegedly, and they'll figure it out. By any means, you know, I don't really think that's the hill that we're looking at with her. I think there's more to it. I think there's more to it in the sense of her, unalignment with the Constitution and actually being an American citizen. And we have a good morning from Patty Cakes. Good morning. She says, Grand Rising founder, Grand Rising to you too. So let's get into the video that I found where she is not about America, but she's definitely Somalia first.
aan nahay dad Soomaali ah waxaan nahay dad isjecel waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood inaan isku xagxagano laakiin haddii runtii ay imaato waxaan nahay dad isku tashto dad walaalo ah dad dhiig lah dad isku og inay Soomaali yihiin inay Muslim yihiin oo iyagana isku hiiliya dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya marka daraad markii ayaan dhaxdaas markii aan maqalnay in qaar Soomaali ah ama Soomaali sheegato in Ethiopia ay la galeen ma baqaan af Soomaali wixii lagu dhaho agreement heshiis maxamuud nuur hadda aniga Soomaaliga badiyo soo ceeb ma aha dad badan ay soo wacay oo waxay leeyihiin ilhaan dawladda Mareykanka inaan la hadashid waaye dawladda Mareykanka maxay ka qabanaysaa jawaabteedu waxay ahayd dawladda Mareykanka waxay ka qabanaysaa wixii annaga aan dhahno dawladda Mareykanka qabo.
Okay. So it says, my answer to Somalia was that the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. This is the problem. From the interior, okay, she is propping up another country. Yeah, this is the problem that people really have with her. It's almost like the allegation of her marrying her brother is the side issue, because the real issue is she's not in alignment with America, and she holds a legislative position within the House of Representatives. She needs to be removed immediately.
waa kalsoonidaas inaan isku qabno anaga Soomaali hadii aan nahay wadankan anaga ku nool wadankan wadankii aan anaga tax ka dhiibno waaye waa wadankii gabar idinka dhalatayne ee Congress ka fadhiso intii aniga aan Congress joogo wadanka Soomaaliya biyaheeda dad kaleete iyo badeeda dad kale ma qaadanayaan wadanka Mareykankana kuma taageerayo dad kaleete in anaga ayna dhacaan marka taas ka seexda.
She says, sleep in comfort, knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system. Trump, if you're listening, deport this one immediately. Denaturalize her immediately. She's talking about warring with another country using the United States. How are you threatening Ethiopia? You can threaten Ethiopia from Somalia. How about that? But not from the United States. Not using any of our funds to do it. Yeah, I am looking forward to every single person from Somalia being removed from the United States soil. And we're not taking anybody. The refugee program, shut it down, all of it. Asylum seekers, shut it down. HB1 visas, especially, shut it down. The chain migration is out of control. And we have people over here that are unvetted. This is why we are having the problem that we're having. But we're going to get into some more stuff. And good morning, Bud McKenzie from YouTube. Good morning. Thank you so much. And Minnesota Fats, thank you so much. And reposting the stream. And Only Facts and Truths, thank you so much for joining us and reposting the stream. Like, she is wild, y'all. In my opinion, just wild. I'm like, how dare you? We're going to protect it from the United States. It's from inside. These are your words. You are not protected by the speech and debate clause. You weren't in Congress. You weren't talking about anything congressional. Just saying. Leaving yourself open.
reer Minnesota gabadhii Congress u dirsateen way idinka warhaysaa sidaad idinka u dareemaysiin dantaas ay u dareemeen madaxweyne xasan shiikhna waxaan leeyahay waan kugu faraxsannahay shaqada fiican aad qabatay in dadka Soomaaliya iyo dadka meel kasta ku nool aad dareensiisay si kasta anaga aan u dhibannahay Soomaali hadii aan nahay waxaan nahay dad karti leh dad wadankooda aqoonsan dad wadankoodii aan wiligood
She said who loved their country, Somalia. Just saying.
Danger laga gelin karin marka waxaan reer Minnesota iyo Soomaalida meel kasta ku nool adeerkaya hadda mar dhow ka hadlaayay idinkaga hambalyeynaya sida aad isku wada duuban tihiin sida aad kulligiin u garab istaagteen madaxweynaheena because wuu u baahan yahay in kulligeen aan garab istaagno Soomaaliya waa Soomaali Soomaaliya waa hal walaalaan wada nahay dhulkeena laga ma kala qaybsanaayo dhulal baa naga maqan raadsanayna insha Allah mar maalinta laakiin inta aan haysana hadda lama kala qaybinaayo marka waa mahadsantihiin dhamaantiin sidaad ii sharaftiin oo markasta aad iigu soo dhawaysiin ilaahay idin sharfo assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, and that was just in 2024. Okay, so she's bold with it. I'm just saying she's out there with it. She does not care about the American people. She does not hold any American values. You know, in her opinion, we are the scum of the earth and the pebble in her shoe. Yet she walks upon this side of the continent, you know what I mean, from Somalia, representing them as if she can just do whatever she wants. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. And even if it wasn't her, I would be calling anybody out for it. Okay? You're not going to come over here from a country that we've kind of saved you from, because that's what refugee status is. We're saving you, right? But what we need to do, and I'm appreciative to what Donald Trump is doing. So I think going forward, we should, if we'd ever decide to open up the refugee program again, all refugees have to be vetted, because the problem is we bring refugees over. How do we know we're not bringing over terrorists? Because no one's being vetted. No one's being talked to. Nobody's being tracked. Like this whole situation that happened to those two young guardsmen from the National Guard that were ambushed, right? This person drove from Washington State to D.C. They didn't drive from Virginia to D.C., which is like maybe an hour, 2 hours. No, they drove across the country. It took them days to drive across the country. Okay. This person was supposed to do check-ins. They didn't do the check-ins. And I'm going to, do some more research and outline it out so we can, connect the dots. The reason why I'm not covering it in its entirety is because the story is ever changing and evolving. And I want to bring you guys the best information possible just to connect the dots and put it together, because unfortunately, initially, when I was following it, the governor was like, oh, they passed away, and then found out they didn't pass away. You know what I'm saying? It's up and down. And now the young lady, she did pass away, and the other gentleman, he's still fighting for his life. So that's where we are right now. And allegedly this person is from Afghanistan. Allegedly they weren't doing their check-ins. Allegedly he was working with the CIA, and all kinds of different things were going on. But the problem still comes back to, we are bringing people into our country and we don't know who they are. Period. And we got to stop doing that. Okay? Because no other country really does what we do. And we need to stop it. Okay? It's time to just dial it back and say, okay, we're going to send people home that need to go home. And Helen Basquette, and thank you so much for joining us, Helen. She says, deport her. And Dr. C says, so much love for a country, yet she's not there. Absolutely. But the thing is, she's using the resources from here to help another country. And it just shouldn't be going on. It really, really, it truly shouldn't. Now we're going to get into another video by Melanie King, and we've seen her. I've played her videos before, and this is some interesting stuff that's happening. I may not play her whole video, but I wanted to just give you the gist of what's happening.
Okay, the national and local governments all push for Islamic indoctrination. Below, watch elementary school children being instructed to pray to Mecca as part of their education. The globalists want to kill the West, and Islam is the dagger they are driving through its heart. Guys, I want to talk about this today, I haven't given you guys an update on what's going on with all of this, but take a look at this. This is what's happening in the UK. And I'm going to mute it for a second because you can barely hear it. But I brought you guys the information about what's happening over there, what's happening in all of Europe, what's happening in pretty much every Western country. And even there are now, pork is banned in schools, in school lunches. Okay. The number one baby boy name in the UK is Muhammad for the second year in a row. Not only that, the report after report talks about how there are hundreds of schools, okay, throughout the UK where there is not a single British native born child at all in the school. They are now indoctrinating the children with this. You're not allowed to pray in school. You're not allowed to read your Bible. They don't allow Bibles in there, but this is what they're allowing. And on top of the other things I reported, they're saying that they want to remove the British flag from flying on poles because it makes migrants, illegals, feel uncomfortable, who mostly come from Islamic countries. Right? This is actually something that they want. They now have an administrator of Sharia law in the UK. The list goes on and on and on. We're not being hyperbolic. When people bring these things up, guys, understand this is what's happening in real time. Now, look at what's happening coming to Florida. It says the event is now confirmed. One of the largest Islamic events of the year is being hosted in Tampa Bay and will be 3 days long. Prominent Muslim speakers from all over the country will be there to strengthen Islam in Florida and in America. Florida? Are you going to allow it? I don't think they can't stop it. I brought you the information about Texas. They can't stop anything. They'll say, oh, we're banning Sharia law. Oh, we won't let someone buy land or a house who's a terrorist, but they really don't have any power. The DOJ investigated. People were excited and thought they could do something. DOJ came back and said, we can't do anything. Texas investigated, came back, they can't do anything. Or they're just like coming out with like, oh, we're banning Sharia law. It's already banned. So what is going to be done about it? I don't think anything can, but let's listen to.
And see, I was just to stop it real quick. This whole thing is the reason why they say they can't do anything about it is because, see, they've tied Sharia law to their religious practices. And we have freedom of religion in this country. However, what they're not looking at is how it actually goes into opposition of the Constitution. And that's the backbone that we need people to have that are in the DOJ, because these people should have been removed from the soil. Okay. I don't care what DOJ it is. They're complacent with this. They want this because if you didn't, we would be standing strong as the United States. But they want this. Somebody's paid them enough money to look the other way. I guarantee you that. Texas, the same thing. Now they want some gentleman, I guess he's the AG from Texas. They want him to take Pam Bondi's spot, but I'm like, he's not going to be able to help with the Muslim situation. It's already overtaken his state in Texas. What are we talking about? But we'll see. And RK69RK says Islam equals cancer equals cult of pedophiles. It's very sad but true.
This.
Get ready for one of the largest Islamic events happening the entire year, the AIM Authentic Ilm Mission Conference. happening right here for the first time ever in Tampa Bay. This is happening in collaboration with the Dean Center in Valrico and Tampa's local da'wah organization, the Sunnah Initiative. This is going to be a 3-day mega event full of lectures, reminders, games, prizes, activities, a vendor bazaar, and much, much more. This year's theme is titled Gratitude as Worship, reading Surah Al-Nahl in an age of forgetfulness. We have keynote speakers such as Sheikh Uthman ibn Farouk.
That got me thinking, if they can change, and I can change, and I was worse.
And Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd.
Started traveling and not leaving halfway line. Death came to him.
As well as numerous other speakers and du'at coming from around the country and from around the state of Florida. The event is open to brothers, sisters, youth, and families, and tickets are free of charge. So book your spot for the end of the month, November 28th to November 30th at the Dean Center in Valrico. This is going to be one of the big.
Yeah, so as of this recording, this has already happened, obviously. We're in December, and Dr. C says imposition of religion is different from freedom of religion. Absolutely.
Biggest events of the year. Ticket and event information is available at the link below. We'll see you there. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Seems like a happy, family-friendly event. All men, of course, because women aren't allowed to participate in anything like that. But when I told you, you guys would say, it's just a conference. That's fine. Listen, that's fine. But understand what the intention is. One of the guys that's featured on there, I've played him before. Okay, Ben Farouk. I don't know how to say the whole name. But let me play this video for you again, because they make it all clean and dress it up really nice. And it's just, we're going to have all these speakers. It's going to be a normal thing. But again, that's one thing. If you want to practice your faith and live out your life in that way, that's fine. But they don't want the rest of us to do that here in America. Even though I show you all the stuff going on around the world, I have some more to show you. But understand what the intention is. Take a look at this. Now, keep in mind, this is the exact same man who is speaking at this conference and is one of the leaders here now in the U.S. And let's hear what he has to say.
So know this, that Islam will enter every house. Every house. Don't worry about the Islamophobes. They can yap all they want. Their children will be Muslim. All those people of Taif, go to Taif today. Show me a kafir there. All Muslims. Read Tariq al-Thaqafi. Al-Thaqafi, this Qabila is from Taif. Great mujahideen, great ulama, they came from the children of those that used to throw those stones. So Islam will enter every house. What's the question? Are me and you going to be a part of it? Are we going to take that become that sabab, that means, so that Allah puts all of that in your hisab? So you can be a part of this great victory that's coming, and wallahi it's coming. It's coming in every house, in every country. Today here in Australia, subhanAllah, I'm sitting here in a masjid that we have people all the way out past the second place. Look at this. Who could have imagined these many Muslims in Australia? And it's not going to stop. You can stop immigration, you can stop whatever, you can do Muslim bans. Wallahi, it's not stopping. Because the Prophet ﷺ said it will enter every house. Today, from some of the staunchest enemies of Islam, preachers and pastors, you see Muslims. We know them, we deal with them. Some of them that are still in the church, that still hide their Islam, I know them. But they are Muslims. So inshallah, it will reach every place, but each one of us, our sisters, you need to be involved in the da'wah. Don't waste your social media. Utilize it for da'wah. Our brothers, especially our young brothers, stop posting videos of you, flossing and doing stupid dances and jumping off, stupidity things, No, we stand for that tawheed. Nobody cares what game you're playing that day or what burger you had that day. No, utilize your social media for da'wah. Take those clips, take those reels. Make videos, promote them, put them on your TikTok, put them on your Instagram, put them on your WhatsApp statuses, so that you can be a means of hidayah. Even if you're not out there getting stabbed like me, but you will be a means of people becoming Muslim. If you have wealth, donate with your wealth.
You know, when you're at the park, somebody talks, hey, you believe in that Islam, that be chopping off hands? Yeah, I do. I think it's better than what you believe in. And you're not stealing something small, it's more than a 1/4 of a gold dinar and thing. You're just stealing because you want to cause corruption and this and that. Chop off a hand in public. Let me see somebody rob you again. Allah, you're going to be walking around with wads of cash and people will be like, I don't even see it.
Islam is our relationship. Kufr breaks our relationship. You could be from my enemy tribe, you could be from somebody I hate, but if you're a mu'min, if you're a Muslim, you are my brother, you are beloved to me. You could be my own father. If you fight Islam, I will fight you. This is the way a Muslim has to be. Today you see, and I'm not trying to mention any names, and I'm not trying to, I'm not a drama queen, I'm not trying to bring up any kind of drama here, but you see major figures in the Islamic community trying to water down Islamic concepts, right? Like, oh, the Sharia punishments were for that time. Who can Norway? If the Sahaba went to Norway, they would love it. They would migrate. I don't know. They would just be like, "Who needs Sharia? You have Norway." Like what? Like you think Allah Subhanahu wa Taala didn't know about the time and place that's gonna come? Like, no, the Sharia is the Sharia. We believe in it. The hudud are hudud. We stand by them. We're not afraid of. We're not ashamed. We don't apologize. We don't water anything down. We don't compromise. None of that.
Did you notice his accent? And I mentioned this last time. What he wears and his accent changes depending on whatever audience he's in front of. It's just like a chameleon. Like one minute he has this accent, this strong accent, then it's a little bit of an accent, then it's just a straight up American accent. But this is who is headlining this conference that will be in Tampa Bay for 3 days. I thought that was important to take note of. But let's look at this. It says, this should be a warning for what's to come. Hamtramck? I don't know how to pronounce it. Hamtramck, Michigan, the 12th congressional district, represented by the domestic terrorist Rashida Tlaib. I don't know if she's a terrorist. I'm not labeling her that. That's what this says, right? Her own constituency at the Intifada, I can never pronounce these things, Intifada conference, openly calling for suicide bombings, stabbings, beheadings, rape, and slaughter around the world, including right here on American soil. That's what the Intifada is, okay? Just so in case you guys don't know, all right? So let's listen to this.
But we have and we will continue to globalize the Intifada. And we will force our governments to listen to us because they want us to accept a world that is unacceptable.
And then you have this happening.
But we have and we will continue.
You have this happening in Brooklyn. It says, this is called marking your territory, just like a dog pissing on a tree. The Quran is a political military takeover manual for global domination. At 5 a.m. in Brooklyn, New York, Muslims perform the first of five prayers for the day called the Fajr. I don't know. The imam's voice is amplified as Canadian Iranian Goldie. I guess that's a gentleman. He makes a remark. So let's listen. So this is happening in our country. But again, what do I always tell you? You cannot see what's just happening in one place. You can't just see what's happening.
I'm going to pause it right there. And there was actually, I'll have to pull her up, but she is an Israeli. And, if you go to tapes in Islamic countries, they don't do this in their countries. They do not go out in the street and pray. They go to the mosque and they pray. Now they do have the, I want to say they do sound the alarm, right? And who are you? You're very interesting. Someone in my comments. But anyway, so to any avail, this is taking over because usually most religious groups they will go to, you know, their churches or their mosque or whatever. Now with Christians, yes, there are Christians that do stand on the street corners and they say, "Hey, you know, get baptized today," or "Jesus is Lord." And I've seen them, right? They do have street preachers, but they're not blocking traffic. They're not trying to stop people from going about their daily lives. What Muslims are doing, not only here in America, but in the UK and in other places, they're literally praying in the middle of the street and blocking traffic and stopping people from what they're doing. That is not religious freedom. That's trying to place your dominance over another country and over another culture. Here's my thing, go back to your dust bowl if that's what you want to do. Stop coming over to countries that don't look like yours because they're not dust bowls. And you do have the opportunity to have freedom. Stop trying to turn it into what you left. If you love what you left so much, go back. That's it. It's very simple. It is very simple. But we're not going to tolerate that here in America. Now, let me skip through her video. Let's see. And it's still the same person. So I'll definitely leave the link. But what I also wanted to show you guys was this, because I wanted to figure out what was going on with this whole intifada thing. Like, what does that even mean? Right. So it's Arabic. It literally means like shaking off or uprising. Okay. So why was that lady calling for an uprising in the United States? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And what are you referring to? And who are you trying to uprise against? And what? What I'm tired of is Middle Easterns having a fight in the United States over stuff that's happening over across the pond. If you want to have that argument, go over there and fight whatever that is. And don't use my money to do it, by the way. Just saying, because I do pay taxes. I don't want my money going over there, right? So the first intifada was in 87 to 93, and it was largely a grassroots Palestine uprising in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. It began with protests, strikes, boycotts, and stone throwing by youth, later escalating to include Molotov cocktails and limited use of firearms. Israel responded with military force, curfews, and mass arrests. It resulted in over 1,000 Palestinian and around 160 Israeli deaths, and eventually contributed to Oslo Accords. And the second Intifada, also called Al-Aqsa Intifada from 2000 2005, it triggered after Ariel Sharon's visit to the Temple Mount Al-Aqsa compound in September 2000. It quickly became much more violent than the first. Palestinian tactics heavily featured suicide bombing, shootings, and rocket attacks, while Israel responded with tank incursions, targeted killings, and the construction of the West Bank barrier. Casualty figures were significantly higher, roughly 3,000 to 4,000 Palestinians and about 1,000 Israelis killed. So, in broader political discourse today, Palestinians and their supporters often frame Intifada as legitimate resistance against occupation. Israelis and many of their supporters often associate the term, especially Third Intifada or calls for global intifada, with terrorism and violence against civilians, given the suicide bombing era of the Second Intifada. The word itself is therefore highly charged and context dependent, right? In strict Arabic, it simply means uprising or rebellion, simply to how jihad literally means struggle. But in contemporary global usage, it almost always refers to Palestinian resistance against Israel. What interests me the most about that whole situation is Muslims never come with peace. What is the end game for Islam? Really? Seriously. Now I know there are people that are peaceful Islamists, you know, or Muslims by practice of Islam. They pray five times a day. They have their peaceful worship. They do not subscribe to Sharia law. There are those Muslims. But then there are the ones that subscribe to Sharia law. The ones that subscribe to Sharia law, you just want dominance to have dominance. You don't care if anybody has peace. You don't care if people are happy. You don't care about people, period. You don't care about women. You don't care about children. You're pedophiles, by the way. You sleep with 9-year-old boys. And I do have people that I've spoken to in my life, and I have confirmed this. And you talk about it. It's disgusting. So what is your religion really based on? It's not based on bringing peace. How many, and let me know, how many drives for food or clothes for people who are in need are done from Muslims, where the Muslim people set it up and they say, hey, come here. We have food for you. We've got clothes for you. We want to support you. I've never seen it. And if somebody has, let me know. Because they're usually in line to get the resources, but they're never the ones setting up to give anything. Like, what is your religion even about? And it has been a cancer on this soil, and it needs to be removed because it's not prospering anybody anything. It really isn't. Sorry. And I have people in my life that do practice Islam. They are Muslims, and they're peaceful, and they do not subscribe to Sharia law. They subscribe to the peaceful practices of the Quran. And those individuals, they actually work side by side with Christians to better their communities. What are we talking about? There can be sects and factions in any religion, right? But are we doing the right thing? That's what it comes back to. So now we're going to move on to Jasmine Crockett. I know, another Crockett video, right?
I'm Jasmine Crockett, 15, okay? I don't see how educated she can be, okay? But her followers, her, I guess her constituents, somebody thinks she's very bright, okay? And that says a lot about them, okay? Because it's so obvious to the rest of us that she's not that bright. Her to be an attorney and the stuff that just comes out her mouth, which makes me think she's getting paid like the rest of them.
But obviously, in Trump's America, this is exactly what he wants. And the idea that one person get out of line and commit such a horrific crime as shooting two National Guardsmen that never, ever asked to be here. In fact, we know the young lady that lost her life, specifically, we're saying that this is a waste of time. But now you want to go against every single immigrant. That doesn't make sense. And it's frankly not who we are, because if that's the case, let's talk about the white supremacists and how many of them need to be kicked out of this country, because I can guarantee you I can track down more crimes that they've committed, because overall immigrants have a lower crime committal rate than white supremacists. But we don't want to talk about that in this country.
What's going on, everybody?
And let's pause right there. Actually, it looks that way because they don't report all of the crimes by people that are undocumented. And that's factual. If you go to a lot of these different states like California, Illinois, New York, you will find their actual policy state you can't ask anybody their immigration status. So if you can't ask someone of their status, how are you actually statistically keeping record of who's causing crimes and not? Because if you can't put them as undocumented, okay, then what are they? Because they're not residents, they're not citizens, they're not here legally. So you can't track them at all. So yes, it does look like statistically they have a lower rate of criminal behavior. And that's because of the policies at the local level that are designed not to track the information. It's disgusting.
I appreciate you guys pulling up, man. I don't know about y'all, but I am beyond tired of Jasmine Crockett. or Crash Out Jasmine Crockett, as so many people know her of, hopping on national TV, serving up some of the wildest, most unhinged takes known to mankind. Every interview feels like a new episode of How Low Can the Bar Go? In the latest disaster, Crockett actually said,
I have to pause this for a second. So there's this person said, "Oh yeah, you're the Thomas person. So guess what? Everybody's got to have haters." I think Cat Williams said it best. He said, "If you don't have 10 haters, what you doing? Because when you have haters, you're doing something right."
on air with a camera interface that white supremacists should be deported. That was her response to Trump revoking protected status after the chaos in Minnesota and after the heartbreaking case of the Afghan refugee who shot 2 National Guardsmen, killing 20-year-old specialist Sarah Beckstrom. This lady here is so despicable that she couldn't even say this young lady's name. This is a service member. This is a person who wore the uniform. And instead of addressing the real failures, real security issues, or the real victims, she pivots to deporting American citizens. Make it make sense, man. And then it somehow gets even crazier because Crockett announces that she's considering a run for the U.S. Senate in Texas. We're talking about Texas, a state that's so red, it makes a stop sign look pale. Listen, Republicans, they couldn't dream up of a better campaign commercial. They couldn't. She is the gift that keeps on giving. But she wasn't done yet. She gets asked to also apologize for falsely dragging a completely unrelated Jeffrey Epstein, a physician who donated to Lee Zeldin. Not the island hopping predator she was trying to imply, and we know what she meant. But does she get on here and apologize? Absolutely not. Of course not. Accountability is her kryptonite. And to be honest with you, accountability is kryptonite for a lot of these daggone Democrats. You know what? Hey, we're going to get into it. I got a few clips to share with you. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna let y'all hear the circus straight from the horse's mouth. Let's get into it.
You made a little bit of news last week when you mistakenly accused Lee Zeldin and another Republican.
I didn't mistakenly.
Money from Jeffrey.
She tried to help her out and say, you mistakenly. And then she doubles down and says, nah, I didn't make a mistake. This lady's crazy.
Epstein, but it was a different Jeffrey Epstein, according to the financial records. Do you want to? I don't want to give you the opportunity to amend that. And
I have no amendments. When I was on the floor, for those that don't know how it works, basically they decided to bring this privilege motion up, and they decided that they wanted to kick Stacey off of her committees because Stacey had received Stacey Plaskett because she had received a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. I had maybe 20 minutes. We researched the FEC, and because I like to speak with specificity, that's kind of what comes with being an attorney. I made clear that there was a Jeffrey Epstein. They knew on the other side that I did not have.
No, and I'm gonna show that clip for you guys just to remind you, but she did not say A. She didn't.
Time to actually pull up and actually research, especially since that particular one that Lee Zeldin got up in or uproar about was specifically out of the New York area. We know that he was out of that area. So, and this obviously was not done post Jeffrey Epstein's life. So I made sure that I said a Jeffrey Epstein.
But you were trying to insinuate that it was the
Oh, I absolutely was insinuating that it could be possible. That is true.
So at least she does admit, hey, I was absolutely insinuating that it could be, but it could be true. She knew what she was doing. But instead of apologizing, she doubled down. I want you guys to hear what Dr. Jeffrey Epstein had to say about all of this. This one may shock you. It may, but then again, maybe not.
Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know at this point if I should feel sorry for you. I'm sure you're proud of your family name. How do you feel getting mixed up in that mess?
It's been a week of a disaster, if you might say. I was very happy with my name. I've had it longer than he has. Obviously, I'm still here and he's not. But to be implicated or even the insinuation that I am the pedophile, it was really pretty awful what she did. And she clearly, when she did her word scramble backpedaling on CNN the other night, those were just blatant lies. It's ridiculous.
Would you take legal action against her?
I had considered it, but of course, with the law, you cannot, because the comments were made on in the Senate floor, so you can't sue based on the constitutional law.
What about what she said on CNN? We're given a chance to get it right.
She certainly didn't get it right. If anything, she lied even further, because she never once said a Jeffrey Epstein. She said Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly, she implied that Lee Zeldin, amongst others, had taken money from the pedophile. But let the record show that if you look in the filings, you also see that Jasmine Crockett took money from Jeffrey Epstein.
Jasmine Crockett also took money from the Jeffrey Epstein.
And actually, she didn't. I actually looked that up because I was like, what? What are you talking about? So let's talk about that for just a second. Now, with Plaskett, because I was trying to figure out what her connection was to Jeffrey Epstein, because he had her number. They're texting back and forth while she's in a hearing, a judiciary hearing, right? And that was with Cohen, Michael Cohen, right? That was during Trump's first term. So here's the timelines between Stacey Plaskett and Jeffrey Epstein. So she's a Democratic delegate from the U.S. Virgin Islands. Okay, that we know of. Right, and it says, okay, so just go down. These interactions spanned from her early political career through 2019, the year of Epstein's arrest and death. Epstein's ties to the USVI included significant tax exemptions and donations to local politicians, including Plaskett. Below is an outline on court documents, emails, text messages, and public records released in Epstein's related lawsuits. Okay. So in 2012, from 2007 to 2012, there was a professional overlap, right? While serving as general counsel for USVI Economic Development Authority, Plaskett helped Epstein secure approximately $200 million in tax exemptions for his businesses on Little St. James and Great St. James Islands. Epstein's applications were approved during this period, providing him with substantial financial benefits in her jurisdiction. This predates her election to Congress, but establishes an early professional link. And so to hear Stacey Plaskett talk about it, she makes it seem like, oh, he's just constituent from the island. I really have no knowing or connection with him. And I'm like, but predating that, your election, right, to being a delegate in Congress, you were dealing with Epstein. You helped him get $200 million in exemption. $200 million, that's a lot. That's really a lot, right? And so there was campaign donations that he donated to her, right, in 2012 for her congressional campaign, despite his prior conviction. Now, if you got the donation in 2012, in 2011, actually earlier than that, was it like 2009, 2007, is when they were, finding out a lot about the pedophilia that was going on. He had not yet been indicted. I think he was more implicated, right? But it was still an ongoing investigation. People knew. It was like well known, like, oh yeah, there's some pedophilia here going on. Now, this is before airline documents were released and all that other stuff, the flight logs, right? Where Clinton is on the flight logs more than once. So, this was her congressional campaign. So, but this was in 2012. So if Epstein was already indicted and under suspicion of pedophilia, you still took money from him. Okay. Despite his prior conviction. Just saying. In June 2014, Cecil Janoff, wife of then U.S. Governor, emailed Epstein requesting $13,000 for Plaskett's benefit via the Democratic Party, stating, "We would have a friend in Stacey," right? Epstein complied, wired the funds. Plaskett later stated she was unaware of the donation until media reports and donated the money to USVI organizations supporting women and children. But what if none of that would ever came out? Would she have given the money back? I'm just saying. Just saying. Because she took the $2,700, but she didn't take the $13,000. Got it. So 24 to 2018, let's see, Plaskett met with Epstein several times after entering Congress, including visits to his USVI office and his Manhattan townhouse. Emails and testimony from a 2023 deposition confirm these were for fundraising purposes where Epstein supported Plaskett's campaigns and Democratic causes. In 2018, Plaskett emailed Epstein requesting assistance for a political event, highlighting his role as a donor and advisor. Okay, so everybody can just stop. They had a working relationship. Okay, and he was already deemed a pedophile at this time. So she needs to stop getting away from, oh, well, it's just somebody. No, he wasn't just somebody. He's somebody who had your cell phone number and could directly get in contact with you, not as a constituent. You guys were, he was advising you in different matters and ways and giving you information. Okay. Sorry. If it's death by 1,000 cuts, you did it to yourself. You could have broke off this situation a long time ago, Stacey, but you didn't. And you decided not to. Right. So, we'll go on, and this was the Rona text back and forth, if anybody's seen that video. So I was like, okay. So I said, why is Stacey trying to separate herself from Epstein as if she didn't know him? Right? Because I was just like, what's going on? Obviously, it's political backlash, legal and ethics defenses, and reputational and career protection. Got it. So it's separation of identity. And then I had to say, did the businesses have any ties to Epstein's island or alleged ties to the island? Not maybe, but maybe not really. So Epstein shell companies and island ownership, they were formed in 1998 as Little St. James, 7.9 million. Epstein was the sole member, using it to hold title and obscure ownership. The entity managed island infrastructure, including helipad, docks, villas. It benefited from the USVI Economic Development Authority, right? The tax breaks, reducing Epstein's corporate taxes to nearly zero. So the question to me becomes, did they know what he was doing on the island? Because there's stuff going on the island. Did you know? And did you shut it down at that time? That becomes the real question. So financial investments in firms, Black Diamond, on and on. Like I said, on and on, right? Sex trafficking minors. We've got high profile involvement in orgy. It's just all kinds of crazy stuff, because he was getting blackmail on different people when they would come to the island. And I said, it seems odd that Stacey didn't know anything while granting such a large tax break that didn't create any jobs, because usually when corporations are given tax breaks like that, it's because they're going to create jobs. They're going to create a benefit for getting the tax breaks. You're not just going to get the tax breaks, right? There's got to be a little bit of back and forth. And I said, why the tax breaks raised eyebrows, job scrutiny, and Plaskett's role. Epstein shell companies in the USVI, like Financial Trust Company, later Southern Trust, raked in 219 to 300 million in tax exemptions over nearly 2 decades, from 1999 to 2018. Yet there's scant evidence they delivered meaningful jobs or economic benefits to locals. These incentives were meant to spur investment under the USVI Economic Development Authority program, but critics argue they were a sweetheart deal for Epstein's personal empire, including his island operations, with little trickle down. So Stacey Plaskett's involvement as EDA general counsel during key periods has fueled questions about due diligence, especially given Epstein's 2008 sex offender status. Just saying. Okay. So how are you given this tax breaks to this person? Because from the timeline, he was already a pedophile at that time. Just saying. He was. And those are the things that are sad that are happening with that. But I wanted to bring that out in relation to this video. Let's skip forward.
Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had to walk back false claims against some Republicans. Even she is involved here. And House Oversight Committee Chairman pointed the finger at Democrats. She is the chairman.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin.
My team, what they did is they Googled, and that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people.
Okay, it is also false.
She was definitely trying to mislead people.
That Mitt Romney and the NRCC took money. What's the NRCC?
The National Republican Congressional Committee.
Okay.
And she named Lee Zeldin, who also did not take
So
money.
it's not true that they took money from Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah. So is this
a different Jeffrey
okay,
Epstein.
yeah, it's a different It's so confusing
But Joy,
and annoying.
This is why people get so frustrated with politicians.
Yeah.
Something horrible was done. We all agree on that. Epstein engaged in horrific crimes. Yeah. But people care more about, well, my team didn't do it, your team did.
Yeah. And why is this a political issue?
Exactly.
It's
also
sex abuse of children.
When she said, my team looked into this quickly, when you're going to throw out an accusation that big, which we all know this case is that big, just own it, say it was a mistake, and move on, because to then try to say, well, they lie and we don't lie, again, it's the distrust in Congress and our politicians.
But the bottom line is, and you've said this before, Sarah, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a
right, but I'm
political
speaking
issue.
purely to
American
don't
issue.
sling an accusation out on the congressional floor and not dial it back quickly, abruptly say, I got it wrong, and move on, because it isn't political. It's
You know it's bad? When The View is calling out the shenanigans, you know it's bad. You know it is. And this person believes they may have a chance at a Senate seat. Come on now, cut it out, man. Seriously, cut it out.
You are, we're told, weighing a decision on whether to jump into this Texas Senate race, challenging Republican Senator John Cornyn for his seat, although it's unclear that Cornyn will survive a Republican primary. You said you had a meeting this week with pollsters to discuss your chances. Did you have that meeting? And if so, how did it go? Are you still thinking about running?
I am still thinking about running. We did get our polling back. So we are moving on to the next phase to determine whether or not this is would make sense in the moment, and if the infrastructure can be built out in the way that I see it being necessary to actually be able to win, as well as we are continuing to look at the polling on the other side. Listen, they are in a civil war right now on the Republican side as it relates to who will become their nominee. John Cornyn has served the state of Texas for decades at this point in time in some capacity. And right now, I don't know if he's MAGA enough to make it through his primary, but we are evaluating all things and seeing what it would look like to put together a team. And we will make a final decision by Thanksgiving on whether or not we're going to ultimately move forward.
Now, I'm not sure if her team has made the decision. I mean, I don't want to say it was presumptuous of her, but she doesn't have to make a decision yet, right? The Senate race is far off. If it's not 2026, it might be 2028, depending on which seat she runs for. So good luck to her if she gets it. Just saying. Hopefully she will have a better team that does better research for her when she goes up. Because like her, I ran into the same research with Jeffrey Epstein, but because I knew of his track record, when I saw the other Jeffrey Epstein come up, I was like, this isn't the same person. And you could clearly see it, right? But in the heat of the moment, when you're trying to make somebody else look bad, you are looking bad yourself. And this is the problem that I have with Congress. Stop trying to make each other look bad, because it's not helping the American people. And even to that, with these Epstein files, right? The only reason I brought up Stacey Plaskett is because she tries to stand up like, well, I'm a previous attorney and I have this. Ma'am, you were involved with this person after the fact and made sure that he had tax breaks after the fact to continue doing and abusing children, because he was still abusing people up until 2019, until he actually was in prison. That stuff was still happening. The Lolita Express was still happening. Okay, not allegedly, it was happening, right? And they keep talking about with the victims, the victims. Are the victims actually going to see justice? Because see, the people that are involved are so powerful. Are they actually going to go to jail? That's the bigger question. And if they're not going to jail, why are we even here? Like I said, I brought up the whole thing with Stacey Plastic because Stacey Plastic keeps acting like she doesn't know who this person is, and she does. Stop lying. Admit your involvement with this person and then move on. The reason you're getting censured is it's not because you were involved with Epstein, it's because you're lying about the involvement you had with Epstein. That's why you're getting censured. Let's just keep that 100. Now we're going to move on to our next topic of Tell It All Tuesday. And this is about our food supply, right? Especially canned foods. So let's check this out.
Wow. Can we talk about what's going on in the canned food world right now? My name is Andrew Good. I'm the second generation owner of Good Foods, Canned Beans, and Vegetables. We are 100% family owned business. But look, this is getting wild. You've got this influential guy at Campbell's, not the VP of the whole company, but someone important enough who's out here saying their products are genetically modified. And quote unquote, they are made for poor people. And that he wouldn't feed any of it to his own kids. Like, what are we even doing right now? Then you have another powerhouse, Del Monte, shipping out cans. This is on the internet. You can search this right after you see this video. People think they're opening up green beans and it's corn. Or people are buying corn and it's green beans. Or it's beets. I've seen sliced beets in the green beans can. I mean, these are big time no-nos. Some cans are literally just water. And let's not even talk about ocean spray. People were opening up cranberry sauce for Thanksgiving and there was no product in it. Like 2 tablespoons floating around. I mean, I get why people are fed up, you know, and look, this isn't about pretending we're perfect, right? We've had hiccups, and it's not like we don't want to make money. We do. Every business does. But the difference is we don't have investors, right? It's 100% family owned. My father started this. We don't have a boardroom telling us to cut corners. We're not publicly traded. We're not chasing quarterly bonuses, right? We do have to sustain a profit to stay in business, but we're just a family that's been doing this for 23 years. And this isn't a category where everything sells for $1 or $2, as you know. I mean, nobody gets rich fast in canned food. All those brands have been around for years before they started really making a profit. So if we were chasing quick money, we'd be in tech, not vegetables, especially not canned food. And so, you know, we grew slowly, like painfully, door by door. We built this brick by brick. Father quit corporate America, started this, and we just been growing. And so one day I realized, you know, really this month, I'm like, holy smokes, we're now in all states, all the way from Hawaii to Alaska and to Virginia and everywhere in between. And that's crazy to think from us starting out as a small local brand in Chicago. We did it without spraying any pesticides, only using non-GMO seeds, without relying on any chemicals to farm. We use crop rotation, which keeps the soil right, if you know, you know, keeps the pest away. So this allows us to not have to use glyphosate pesticides. Everything you see here is WIC approved for the Women and Infant Children program. It's EBT approved as well. So we're just a small family business out here trying to make a name for ourselves, but without the shortcuts and without the quiet gimmicks. So yeah, like these big companies are going viral for the wrong reasons. Just remember, there are still family businesses like Good Foods, and there's a few others, not many left on the grocery shelf, that are doing the work the long, slow, hard way, and that's the difference. So hopefully, if you get a chance to see these products in the store, check the store locator. These are available in major retail stores. The link is in my bio. And hopefully, you remember, if you eat good, feel good.
And that's cool. You know, I don't personally eat a lot of canned foods. I stopped that a long time ago, a few years back. But there are people that do, and it's good that he came out and addressed it because there's not other, you know, companies addressing it. So I do hope that he gives him a bump in visibility. But I did that just to let other people out there know if you eat canned foods, you know, definitely pay attention. And Campbell's is obviously a lot larger than just Campbell's. There are other, I think they have like Pace, and there's all different other brands under Campbell's that are associated with them. And the bigger question became, they're using bioengineered products in their food, right? And if you don't really read the labels, because it's like tiny print at the bottom, like in the fine print, you wouldn't know. So you're not even eating real food. Now, I think this is going to definitely come back to HHS, right? And I know RFK, he's doing a lot because there's a lot to clean up, right? But the FDA, really, this falls on their shoulders, right? Really knowing if they're putting bioengineered products in the food, why isn't the general public being made more aware of this? Right. And those are the things that I want to make sure I keep you guys abreast of here on Unfiltered Vision News. And this is Tell It All Tuesday. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we will get back into some more news. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe unbiased. At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it?
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. And so the next video I want to get into, it is from Jew Almighty, and he was talking about Black erasure. And my husband actually brought this video to my attention about a week ago. It was right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and I just didn't have time to cover it at that time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to, go get into it on Tell It All Tuesday when we come back from the Thanksgiving break. So some of you out there may have seen this video, you may not have. It's interesting because April Showers is actually noted in this video. You see him bring up her profile regarding Black erasure. So let's get into it.
American history, whether they like it or not.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants.
The history of slavery in New York goes back to 1626. These men built the wall for which Wall Street is named.
The civil rights movement changed America.
We fight to defend the water we drink, the land we grow our food on, and our way of culture. We also fight to protect Rockefeller's foundations, kind of foundation that the black man can't partake of, you understand?
Every time we created a town or safe space, it was burned down or all but destroyed by white people. One of the most famous ones is the Tulsa Massacre, which was Black Wall Street.
Harlem became the beating heart of Black America. Art, music, politics, literature, and culture all converging in one place.
It wasn't just the White House that was built using slave labor. The building that serves as our country's political center, the United States Capitol, was built and rebuilt using slave labor after its sacking in the War of 1812.
And a lot of it has been hateful, violent, and ugly.
These massacres have occurred in Black towns, Black places, where the Black population was attacked and killed by white people unprovoked. Lake Lanier was once a thriving Black town called Oscarville, resulting in the forced displacement of almost 2,000 Black community members, and then it was later dammed and flooded to create Lake Lanier. Seneca Village in Manhattan is the current day Central Park. Was once a thriving Black neighborhood that had its own post office, own towns, own banks, own schools. When it became too prosperous, they said eminent domain. They created Central Park.
But the incredible thing about Black people in this country is we persevered, and we continue to persevere through racism, oppression, and constant efforts to stop our progress and erase our contributions to the world.
In less than a year, the Black Hat Report has documented more than 15,700 attacks on Black progress.
What makes Black Americans unique as people is we didn't flee our oppressors, and we didn't abandon our country for better treatment elsewhere. We stayed, we fought, we built.
The civil rights movement changed America. In the 1960s, brave young activists held sit-ins at segregated lunch counters, and freedom riders challenged interstate bus segregation, facing violence but refusing to back down. In 1963, over 200,000 people gathered for the March on Washington, where Dr. King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. In 1964 and 1965, the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act were passed, ending legal segregation and protecting voting rights nationwide.
We found strength in community and carved out spaces for us to continue to flourish and thrive.
The Harlem Renaissance wasn't just about jazz and poetry. It was about survival, identity, and health. In the early 1900s, thousands of Black families fled the South. They were escaping Jim Crow, racial terror, and poverty. Here on the streets of Upper Manhattan, they built something extraordinary, the Harlem Renaissance. Harlem became the beating heart of Black America. Art, music, politics, literature, and culture all converging in one place. Langston Hughes turned jazz into poetry. Nora Neale Hurston collected stories that preserve the wisdom of Black folk culture. Duke Ellington's orchestra filled the Cotton Club with sounds so powerful they redefined American music.
And most importantly, we never stopped being proud and Black. That's why we're the most creative, unique, and determined people on the face of this earth, which for whatever reason is threatening to so many people, which is why we're under constant attack of Black erasure.
591 Black books banned in 2025. Entire museum exhibits on Black migration and diaspora shut down. More than 6,700 federal data sets erased, from health to housing to justice.
You see it everywhere you look. There's a constant effort to ignore, downplay, or completely remove contributions of Black people who are descendants of American slavery from culture and history.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant.
Whoa, that little Bell Jeep. You gonna have to pipe down. Last time I checked, one of the first groups to actually start building New York City was Black Americans, free and enslaved. Some of the early communities built in New York was built by Black Americans. Or how about the simple fact that Black Americans was out there building New York City before they could actually freely own any land out there in New York City?
And it's coming from all sides, from the federal government, white nationalists, and even some immigrants. All for different reasons, but the goal is the same: erasure.
It seems that these immigrants learned that white supremacy would never fully accept them. So the next best thing they could do was come over and steal culture and history from Black Americans.
Real quick, I want to shout out my boy Javon from Eccentric Threads, who's sponsoring this video. He's got a line of pretty dope holiday sweatshirts. The link is in the description. Make sure you go check them out. And you can get 15% off if you use the code Jew Almighty. And me personally, I got the Kobe sweatshirt. We all need a little bit of mama mentality. But I'm Jew. Welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into it.
New York City in America was built on the back of Black slaves. No other group. And let's not forget that.
For a lot of white Americans, it's easier to erase, ignore, or soften the truth than it is to confront the brutality and effects of slavery, racism, and generations of systematic advantages that they benefited from that set the Black community back.
If you're familiar with the Trinity Church in New York's financial district, you may not know that the clergy rented enslaved people to build its iconic spires, as well as the wall that used to snake down what we now know as Wall Street. Many of our forefathers were enslavers.
13th Amendment to the Constitution makes it unconstitutional for someone to be held as a slave. There are exceptions, including criminal.
The loophole was immediately exploited. What you got after that was a rapid transition to a mythology of Black criminality.
Virtually impossible for a politician to run and appear soft on crime.
The kinds of kids that are called super predators.
Millions of dollars will be allocated for prison and jail facilities.
3 strikes and you are out. Now have more African Americans under criminal supervision than all the slaves back in the 1850s.
That's why they don't like to have those conversations and try to gaslight Black people into believing we need to move on and stop crying about the past. The fact is, if you don't learn from the past, you're destined to repeat it. That's why it's important that we know our history and keep it alive. But the erasure that we're seeing doesn't only come from white people or the government. We also see it from some immigrants who come to this country and act like Black Americans have no culture.
African Americans in this country are the only groups, they have no culture. It depends on who you meet, where you meet them. 2 value systems in the African American culture. Name 2 taboos in the African American culture system. And 2 traditions, by the way, in the African American culture system. You have no culture.
Yeah, but they're running around looking like people from Compton.
Anti-Black sentiment throughout the diaspora. Black American culture is unique and has developed in America over the last 400 years. So why is this dance considered traditional and cultural for you, but twerking for us couldn't be a part of African American culture. Black spirituality and worship in the Black church has been a central and vital institution in Black American life, acting as a hub for community, social justice, and spiritual support. Black American spirituality, Louisiana voodoo, and hoodoo, which developed from the Middle Passage and thrived during our time here on the plantation, is a direct result of our African origins coupled with our new existence here in America. Soul food, which can be traced back to the culinary practices of enslaved Africans in the American South, blending African traditions with European techniques, inspiration from the natives, and ingredients and cooking methods available during slavery. It's unique to Black Americans. Our value systems are family and community. We have collectivistic values, placing a strong emphasis on family closeness, community bonding, and solidarity is a core value in art, which is the most exported and consumed and marketed part of our culture. From the Harlem Renaissance to today, Black Americans have made immense contributions to the arts, visual art, our dances, our music, which have been consumed globally for the last century.
The moment a Black artist started climbing the R&B charts, these vultures would swoop in. Label immediately calls their stable of clean-cut white artists. Rush released the sanitized version and flood white radio stations, while the original gets buried in segregated markets.
That we're lazy, uneducated, or haven't contributed value to this society. And they use those narratives to big up themselves or their own culture and try to get closer to whiteness. Meanwhile, the very rights that people that immigrate to this country enjoy, voting rights, civil rights, equal access to this country, only exist because of the generations of Black people that have fought, marched, bled, sacrificed, and died to secure them. Let's not forget that Black people fought and died in every war in this country. Yes, African Americans have fought in every American war since this country's founding, from the Revolutionary War to present day. Around 5,000 Black people fought in the Revolutionary War. The War of 1812, Black men served in this war, with the U.S. Navy being an integrated service. The Civil War, approximately 180,000 African Americans served in the Union Army and the Navy. In World War I, over 350,000 African Americans served, including the 369th Infantry Regiment, known as the Harlem Hellfighters. In World War II, more than 2.5 million African Americans registered for service and over 1 million served, despite facing segregation and discrimination. So it's crazy that people that never contributed anything meaningful to society put so much effort into calling Black people unpatriotic. Black men served, bled, and died for this country in every war it fought. But when they came home, they were still treated like they had to deal with segregation and systematic racism. They weren't given the GI Bills that other white veterans were given when they came home.
The lie of equal opportunity, AKA how you build a wealth gap on purpose. They went to school, bought homes, built wealth. But here's the catch. The GI Bill wasn't administered equally.
Meaning they couldn't buy homes for their family and build wealth to pass down generations. And if they were able to buy homes, they had to deal with redlining, which is where they were told where they were allowed to buy a home and live.
Local agencies controlled who got what. And local meant Jim Crow South and redlined north.
And in the long run, a lot of those property values didn't go up like they did in white neighborhoods, meaning white people were able to build even more wealth, while people that fought and bled for this country struggled.
Black veterans denied home loans by racist banks, denied college by segregated racist universities, denied job training in fields unsuitable for their race.
And that's not even addressing racism in the workplace, where Black people that were qualified and overqualified for jobs wouldn't get it because of the color of their skin. But unqualified white people would get those jobs because of the color of their skin or the connections they have and continue to be promoted. And even today, we're still dealing with things like the racial wage gap. The racial wage gap starts as early as 16 years old for Black workers. And most Black people never catch up with white counterparts. But you know what? Those same patriotic soldiers had to deal with racism overseas when they were serving. Black soldiers shared their racism experience in Vietnam in the 1970s. It shows how white supremacists taught the Vietnamese people to hate them.
To get a power here, it's nothing but a greeting. That's all. We can't wear our bracelets in the movie. How come? How come? It's illegal, they say. It's against regulation.
Black people just be effortlessly cool.
They said the afro was legal. Am I right or wrong? That's right. That's what they said. It was legal. We can sport an afro. But they want us to wear skin hair. What they call it, high and tight. It's not my culture.
And they're doing the same thing right now with Black people in the military. Changing those regulations to only affect Black people, like Black men having to shave a certain type of way, or how Black women's hair can look. And if they don't follow those regulations, then they're out of the military.
They're basically instructing
all of the commanders to separate any members who require a medical shaving waiver for more than a year. Anyone who's on a medical shaving waiver is supposed to be put on a treatment plan. If after a year they still require that treatment plan, they're instructed to separate the members. I think this is incredibly telling because a lot of the members that have medical shaving waivers have this skin condition, something that affects 3 out of 5 Black men, in which it is incredibly painful.
Don't ever let anybody gaslight you into believing racism is dead or systematic racism and oppression is not real.
Right around. They come over here, they get, all right, a Vietnamese girl. She called me a nigger. A Vietnamese girl. I know it's not part of their language. Can't nobody tell me that's part of their language. But I'm gonna go over here. The beast, you know that. See, we go over here, we fight. Okay, we fight to defend the water we drink, the land we grow our food on, and our way of culture. We also fight to protect Rockefeller's foundations, kind of foundation that the Black man can't partake of, you understand? And then we go back, we continuously harass. It's not necessary. This ain't what we heard, this is what we know.
This ain't what we heard, this is what we know.
They don't like us. They say we start trouble. Now who done put this stuff in their mind?
Imagine how obsessed white racist people are. Non-stop, they're thinking about Black people. They obsess over us.
White people are obsessed with Black people, which is why racists exist. Because in order to be racist, you need to wake up every day and just continuously think about why you don't like a person or a group of people based on the color of their skin.
To the point that they will go to a whole other country during a war and talk about Black people and teach them words like or tell them we're nothing but trouble so that that's how they view us. And again, we still see that today. There are people in countries that have never seen or interacted with a Black person in real life. But if you ask them about us, it would be nothing but negative connotations and racist sentiments. And it's because of the white racist narrative against Black people. Now, there was a whole discourse that happened on X a few weeks ago about how immigrants built this country and Black people didn't. New York City was literally founded by the Dutch, built by Irish and Italian laborers, powered by Jewish, Puerto Rican, and Dominican communities, and runs on immigrant hustle. The Statue of Liberty was donated by France to honor immigrants. It's literally the city's logo. Now, I've used Alex's tweets before, but this post is the definition of Black erasure and anti-Blackness. And there was a whole lot of responses to it and people correcting him. The Statue of Liberty was donated by France to honor immigrants. Just no, it wasn't. And the fact check started immediately after that. Explain to us how the chains on the Statue of Liberty represent immigrants. Literally. NYC was founded in 1624. The first wave of immigrant labor came in the late 1800s. I wonder who built everything in 200 plus years in between. The Statue of Liberty is literally a freed Black slave. Yet another example of how left-wing white supremacy weaponizes immigrants and immigration narratives to erase Black Americans and our emancipated ancestors. Alex is a paid Afro-immigrant Democrat shield from the Bahamas. He knows damn good and well this is xenophobic. And I guess they pulled the receipts, Bohemian flag. My parents are Bohemian too. Okay, y'all, getting out of pocket with this blatant erasure of Black American New Yorkers. Not even including the Black Americans that came to the city during the Great Migration. But there have been Black Americans freed and enslaved in New York for generations, and the Statue of Liberty commemorates them. By the way, not seeing Black Americans as a real group of people means you've decided to align yourself with white supremacist rhetoric. Erasing us from history also aligns with them. Keep it up, we're gonna put y'all in the same category as an enemy. And I don't think you can argue with that. The intention behind leaving Black people out of history is intentional Black erasure. The statue actually arrived before Ellis Island even opened. Are you okay? The children of immigrants really do not know American history at all. And you know, I do wonder how many immigrants of color, how many Black immigrants have come to America and really invested into learning.
And I got to pause it really quick and shout out to April Showers. That was actually her tweet. I'm just going to call it a tweet, even though it's on X. She said the statue actually arrived before Ellis Island even opened. Are you okay? The children of immigrants really do not know American history at all. This is exactly why #Black Americans will continue on our ancestral delineation movement. Right? Okay. And only facts, yes, I will be posting the link to this video when I repost my shorts to this longer live video. I will definitely link this video in that.
in real American history, Black American history, what we contributed to this country and what our sacrifices built. Because without a doubt, every single immigrant that comes to this country has benefited from Black people's fight against racism and for equal rights for generations. Seeing that Black American culture is woven in every aspect of this world while they act like we're some lost people is the greatest gaslighting pact ever. Trust none of these people. The actual Statue of Liberty Museum says otherwise. Here's a fascinating thing about this shit though. White Americans who literally use your country as a toilet and child trafficking superstore also need to lie that American descendants of slavery contributed nothing to this country. Why do you? The Statue of Liberty was created to celebrate free slaves, not immigrants. Its new museum recounts. Lady Liberty is inspired by the end of Civil War and emancipation. The connection to immigration came later. Black Americans literally cleared the forest that was Manhattan before colonization. They built the city's first infrastructure, including early roads that ended up becoming world famous like Broadway.
Right now I'm standing on Wall Street in the financial district. We know Wall Street is a place of commerce, and sadly, for the first 200 years of the city's history, some of that commerce included people. The history of slavery in New York goes back to 1626, a year after the city's founding, when a group of 11 African men were brought here by the Dutch West India Company to help build the new settlement. In fact, these men built the wall for which Wall Street is named.
Black people literally built the wall for which Wall Street was named. Come on, man, what are we talking about?
By 1711, at least 40% of the city's households owned a slave, and New York was a major player in the North American slave trade. Now, the spot where I'm standing, the intersection of Wall Street and Pearl Street, was the site of New York's slave market, which operated here from 1711 to 1762. Even after 1827, when New York abolished slavery, businesses still profited from it. Local merchants were still free to outfit slave ships with food and equipment.
At the end of the day, Black people are here to stay. We aren't going anywhere. We've been here since the founding of this country. And no matter what efforts are made to erase us or minimize our contributions to this country and the culture, we remain, we persevere, we keep the flame from our ancestors alive by continuing to be us, thrive, and reach greater heights while we honor the shoulders that we're standing on. Black people are just dope. I think I say it in every video. Also, shout out to my channel members. I appreciate y'all's support so much. But thanks for watching. Y'all let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Also, make sure you check out the next video. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram for behind the scenes and life stuff. And I'll catch you next time. Peace. Black history is America.
Yes. And that is, let me get his name correct. Have it in my notes. Jew Almighty. J-U Almighty. And I will share that link when I repost. So moving on to some more of our news in Tell It All Tuesday, I came across this article, and it was mentioned in All Sides, and so I really wanted to check it out because it says Newsom's minimum wage hike cost California thousands of fast food jobs, sent prices soaring. Well, here's the thing. If you want to pay somebody $15 an hour to do fast food, you're going to have to charge the consumer more, right? Everything is costing more right now. The goods and products that it takes to put together the product that you want. So if you want a hot dog, you got buns, you got the hot dogs, condiments and all these other things, and you want to pay somebody $15 an hour, where when you were paying them, let's say $7 and the hot dog was $3, you want to pay them $15. So you want to increase it $8. You're going to have to increase the hot dog to at least $6 or $7 to match it, right? So that you can pay that person $15. I'm just using that as an example. And that's outside of transportation costs and everything else. Okay. So apparently when California Governor Newsom signed a law in 2023 that increased the state's minimum wage for fast food workers to $20 per hour, he pledged that they would enjoy a stronger voice and seat at the table. But the California fast food industry has lost more than 19,000 jobs since the law went into effect in April 1st, 2024, according to a recent analysis by the Employment Policies Institute. Since Newsom signed the law in September 2023, California has been responsible for more than a quarter of America's fast food job losses. Yeah, you're going to lose the jobs because consumers can't keep up with the prices. And so they're going to go somewhere where they can get something for $2, even though they know it might be trash. It's fast food. Just saying. They'll pay $2 as opposed to $10. Just saying. And with a lot of these fast food places, there's automations that they can put in place. I think it's Texas. I would just say allegedly Texas. There's a McDonald's that's fully automated. Now there are a few humans inside monitoring it to make sure it stays, but you go in, you order you're outside. There's no inside. So you go through the drive-through, you order your food, and when you go to the cashier part, you either pay with your card or put your money, and you're giving your food through like a little chute. That's it. There's no human interaction, really. Yeah. So this is already happening. So there are places where they can eliminate people altogether. So the law has had many other um, deleterious consequences. Right. So yeah. And here's some comments. It says, gosh, if only someone with a basic understanding of economics had warned them. Oh, wait. So silly. So the minimum wage fiasco is similar in scope to that state's gasoline and diesel retail prices. The bottom line is that state government is the driving force behind both of those agendas. And it's really sad to see what's happening in California, but this is what happens when I mean, I understand the intention, but realistically it doesn't work. What could be better, and this is my opinion, why don't you start investing more in local business ownership, right? Then that way people don't have to worry about making $20, $40 an hour. They can actually have a business that they own, and they can have more independence. I think that might be better. That might be better. Just saying. There's also job training and other things that can be done. So this is something that you guys might come across, maybe, maybe not, that Trump had pardoned a former Honduras president convicted of drug trafficking. So President Trump announced on Friday he plans to pardon former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was convicted last year in the U.S. on drug trafficking and weapon possession and weapons charges. Interesting. So Trump announced on Truth Social that Hernandez had been treated very harshly and unfairly in a trial under the Biden administration and that he would grant him a full pardon. Former U.S. officials described Hernandez as a key figure in a violent international drug trafficking network. In a separate post, Trump also expressed support for conservative Honduran presidential candidate Nesre Tito Asfura in the country's upcoming general election. So previous convictions, Honduras served as president from 2014 to 2022. He was extradited to the U.S. in 2022 and convicted in 2024 of conspiring to import 400 tons of cocaine into the U.S. and possessing machine guns. He received 45 years in prison and an $8 million fine. During the trial, prosecutors said Hernandez ran Honduras like a narco state and accepted millions in bribes, and federal authorities estimated his operations moved hundreds of tons of cocaine to the U.S. Hernandez's defense called the trial politically motivated, because I'm like, wow, okay. So you served roughly 8 years and you were importing this whole time. Okay, I would have to look deeper into it, but this is where we're at. Okay, so the pardon comes as the Trump administration increases strikes on alleged drug boats off the coast of Venezuela and the Caribbean Sea. Since September, the Department of Defense has conducted 21 strikes, killing at least 83 people, and it says is smuggling illegal drugs into the U.S. And this is how the media covered it. Outlets across the political spectrum noted the pardon comes amid escalating strikes on boats allegedly carrying drugs into the U.S. Washington Examiner, that leans right by us, covered Trump's claim that Hernandez's conviction was a Biden setup. It and BBC that center noted Trump's pardon and public support of Asfora carry potential implications for U.S. Honduras relations and possible influence over the Honduran election and broader regional dynamics. The New York Times that leans left emphasized Hernandez's criminal activity and corruption, detailing his role in a long running drug trafficking network, his use of bribes and state power, and the human cost of actions in Honduras. So, honestly, I don't know enough about Hernandez to really speak to him, but I just wanted to bring this to you guys because I find it confusing. Because typically, some of these pardons that Trump does, he has some knowledge, but I know that there was the gentleman, I think he was a Binance creator or whatever, and Trump pardoned him and didn't realize he did. He totally forgot that he pardoned him. So I'm like, okay, you're talking about this dude. He's convicted of all the things that you're trying to stop. The method to your madness. I don't know where this is going, but that one's interesting. So another thing that I wanted to bring up, of course, investigators find estimated $1 billion in public funding stolen in Minnesota. And it's unfortunate that it is predominantly done by people in the Somali community. Here's my thing. If you don't want people looking at you like everything's your fault, then stop the crime in your community. It is what it is. It is what it is. Like the judge that had released the people that stole like the $7.2 million. Like, well, yeah, and giving excuses. I was like, you overturned a jury's verdict. The jury heard it in 2 weeks, made a decision in 2 hours, and the judge decided, well, they're not as guilty as the jury perceived it, so we're just going to let it go. And the attorney general is actually appealing that. It just says a lot about what's going on in Minnesota right now, and it's very sad what's happening. Now, I did want to get to this before we get out of here. And Trump here, he's saying he would denaturalize criminals. Asylum freeze could last a long time. So, speaking to reporters on Sunday, President Trump gave some updates on immigration related matters, including the recently enacted freeze on asylum applications and the possibility of revoking citizenship for naturalized persons who commit crimes. I'm down. I'm for it. I want it all shut down. I want our border, like I said, administratively, and this is an administration process, right? Because he in the executive branch is saying, I want to freeze these programs that are allowing this. And he actually has the ability to do that because he's not trying to change immigration law. And asylum seekers and refugees and all of these other things, they have nothing to do with the immigration process, right? Because if someone is seeking asylum, it's granted. Refugee is granted, right? The temporary protection status, it's granted, and it's granted under the executive branch, not the legislative branch. It's just when those individuals that are maybe refugees seeking asylum and they want to actually go through the process of becoming naturalized, that's when that falls in the legislation. Now, a lot of people might say, well, wait a minute, what about denaturalization? That is under the legislative branch. It is. But here's the deal. If you have committed crimes and it's shown that you are in connection with these crimes, I'm telling you, Omar, she was all about feeding our future and caping and all. What did you know and when did you know it? Did you know that the state was being defrauded for all of that money? Because you were definitely chummy with the person that was over it, who's the same person who ran for mayor in Minneapolis. Yeah. So she has a lot of explaining to do. So for context, earlier this week, 2 National Guard members who were shot and killed. Now they weren't one person. He's still trying to, he's holding on. I'm not sure if he's passed away yet. We'll have to check his status. in Washington, D.C., allegedly by an Afghan asylum seeker, right? The Trump administration paused all decisions on pending asylum cases and issuing visas to Afghan nationals. So that was very specific. Trump also said he would permanently pause immigration from all third world countries. So nobody's getting it. Thank you. Appreciate it, because these people, they come over here and they get on welfare, and they're on welfare for like anywhere from 8 to 10 years. And everybody's like, but wait a minute, immigrants are not supposed to be there. They're not. And it's the ones that come over here legally, they're not entitled to welfare. But if they come over here illegally, if they're asylum seekers, if they're refugees, if they have a refugee status, they actually get the benefits. How does that even work? That's what they changed in that big, beautiful bill. And that's why a lot of these people are mad. Because January 1st, all that kicks in. Nobody gets any money. If you were here, or if you are here under refugee status, asylum seeker status, you're not going to be getting any monies from anywhere. You're not going to be getting any help. So if you don't have a job, I suggest you relocate back to your home country. Just saying. So Trump said the asylum freeze had no time limit, but it could be a long time, he added. We don't want those people. We have enough problems. Many of them are no good, and they shouldn't be in our country. When asked who he meant by those people, Trump said people from different countries that are not friendly to us, and countries that are out of control themselves, which are a lot of these countries that people want to flee from. We can't save the world. And I'm okay with not saving the world. I'm okay. The baby mamas, you're hilarious. Asylum pause. Let's see. Denaturalization. When asked about revoking citizenship from naturalized criminals, Trump said, if we have criminals that came into our country and they were naturalized, maybe through Biden or somebody that didn't know what they were doing, if I have the power to do it, I'm not sure that I do, I would denaturalize absolutely. And he actually does hold the power of denaturalization. He actually does have the power. He and his administration can go through and say, this group of people, we want them denaturalized. They do not align with our Constitution nor our values. They are in opposition to this country. They can have them removed. Now, a lot of people say, well, they can't. The paperwork. No, actually, he has the ability to do it. He does. And I'm grateful for that. So the immigration's up. This is how the media covered it. The immigration updates weren't widely covered by mainstream media outlets. Outlets across the spectrum began to cover Trump's remarks on denaturalization early Monday and focused on his use of the word absolutely. No outlets that all sides analyzed coverage from the provided full quote, right? So Fox News, that's right, biased, offered a significant portion of the quote, but distorted it by omitting the word if from the beginning. Okay. So it is a question of if he can do it, and I believe he can, and I'm really looking forward to a lot of people being removed out of this country. Just saying. Because it is a privilege. It isn't all right. It is a privilege to be an American citizen. Because here's my deal. If it wasn't, why do people risk their lives to even get here? They do that because they know if they can just get here and do things the right way, they will have the opportunities they need. But we unfortunately have people in our country that want to destroy the country. And that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you want to destroy a place that's benefiting you? Do you hear yourself? Like, what are you doing? If that's really your mentality, then you need to go back to the country that you left and destroy that country, but not here. So with that, we're going to end the stream for today. Thank you so much for joining us here on Unfiltered Vision News. And remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We'll see you in the next one.